It's here! The National League Championship Series starts today. We'll break down who's pitching, who should make the roster, and why you should believe the boys in blue are on their way back to the Fall Classic.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The reigning, defending, undisputed World Series champions, your Los Angeles Dodgers, are back on the biggest stage in the National League, and they're facing the one team that stood above everyone else in the regular season, the Milwaukee Brewers. This series has everything: storylines, revenge, and high-stakes baseball, Travis.
Absolutely. This is what we've been waiting for the entire year. It feels like Japan was a few weeks ago, and here we are one step away from the World Series. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download that FanDuel app today.
He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats grabbing the mic every weekday morning and diving into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. I've got to say, thank you for all the support this past week. We just had the two most watched episodes in Locked On Dodgers history, and that's all because of you. If you're new here, welcome, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop a like and leave a comment. We love hearing your takes and reading your thoughts. And don't forget, you can always sound off directly on our listener line at 2793-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Text or voicemail. We want to hear from you. All right. This is the clash of styles. A team that was expected to be here. A team built to repeat versus one who is mostly built from within, shocking the baseball world. Travis, it's the Brewers, the opponent for the boys in blue. They needed 5 games to get through the Chicago Cubs, and now they have home field advantage over LA.
Yeah, it felt like this was kind of the way that it was going to go. The Brewers were the best team in the National League pretty much since they came to Dodger Stadium shortly after the All-Star break. At that point, they kind of started to separate from the pack. I remember I went to a couple of the games at Dodger Stadium. The Brewers obviously swept that series. They didn't lose to the Dodgers a single time all year long. And watching them play, they're really good. So it's not a surprise that they're here. Now, I don't know if they have quite the firepower that the Philadelphia Phillies brought to the table in the DS round. So obviously it's a 7-game series as opposed to a 5-game series. So there's a little bit more about managing your roster through the length of the series as opposed to just mashing the gas and going for it every single night. So there's a few things that are different along the way, but I like the matchup for the Dodgers. I'm sure we'll get into this, that a lot of the guys that the Dodgers are going to lean on in this series never even played in the 6 games when they played the Brewers during the regular season. So while the Brewers are basically the same team that the Dodgers saw 6 times, this Dodger team is very different than the one that the Brewers saw in those 6 losses.
Game 1 starts for the Dodgers with Blake Snell on the mound, followed by Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Game 2. Is it the right call? Dave Roberts set up this rotation this way, so a 7-game series, which, by the way, it's the first time they play in a 7-game series in this postseason, that they're able to use Snell again in Game 5, Yoshi in Game 6, in case you go that deep in the series. I feel that that's the perfect rotation. They've done it already this way in the wild card. They've done it this way already in the divisional series. And in my opinion, no disrespect to Tyler Glasnow, no disrespect to Shohei Ohtani. It's aggressive, it's smart, and you got a Cy Young winner, a guy who knows how to deal under the pressure in Game 1, and Yoshi, who after a rocky start in his MLB career with the injuries last year, now he's grown, adjusted, and flat out earned getting Cy Young recognition votes this season, and he gets the Game 2 nod. It's perfect for the boys in blue on the road, in my opinion, for these first 2 games to get these 2 starters.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my opinion from what I said at the very beginning of the wild card round against the Cincinnati Reds. You could put these 4 guys in a hat, shake them up, and pick names at random, and I like it. There really isn't a bad order that you can put these guys in. I like this order a lot. I think that Blake Snell brings something that the Brewers haven't seen. I mentioned a minute ago of the guys that were not in this series when they played each other 6 times during the regular season. They haven't seen Blake Snell all year long, and they really haven't seen this version of Blake Snell, who feels like he's kind of elevated his game to another spot. Yamamoto, not great against the Phillies. Okay, fine. I'll roll that back all day long. He is, he's been the best Dodger pitcher all year. He's been the most reliable, the most durable. So I expect him to show up and go. And then Ohtani and Glasnow, again, 2 guys that when they're on their games are about as nasty as you're going to see. So as far as the way that the pitching set up to get, 2 Yamamoto starts, 2 Snell starts, and probably an Ohtani Glasnow mashup in game 7, if in fact it gets that far, I like it a lot. I think that this is set up really favorably for the Dodgers. And again, this is a totally different Dodger team than the one that the Brewers saw earlier, in particular on the mound. They are going to fire all of their bullets this time, whereas before you were doing bullpen games, you were having guys in the rotation that were not typically the guys that you're going to see in this series. So I really like how the pitching sets up for the Dodgers.
You brought it up right now. They didn't face Blake Snell this season. They didn't face Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And the one starter that they did see multiple times, Tyler Glasnow, he flat out dominated them, Travis. 11 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. So the arms that they punished before, they're not the ones that they're going to be getting now in this series in the NLCS with a ticket to the World Series on the line. And in this instance, you want to punch first. You want to take the lead. You did it in Philadelphia, and I feel that the best chance for the Dodgers to take the lead on the road against Milwaukee is Blake Snell. He has been untouchable, and even yesterday, Dave Roberts on Sunday, he said that part of the plan was actually for Blake Snell to get that time off while he was injured, to then come back and be his dominant self during the postseason, and the Dodgers were in a perfect spot for it this year, where instead of, it's the inverse from 2024, where you had the starters during the regular season, but didn't have them during the postseason, and you won it all. Now you didn't have a lot of your starters during the regular season. A lot of players had to come in to replace them in the middle chunk of the year. And now you have them all during the postseason. If they were able to win it that way in 2024 and 2025, man, I feel like it's just do your job, do your thing. If the bats can wake up just a little bit, it will make things easier. But for now, we've seen what Dodgers baseball with dominant pitching can look like. And it has looked like with the wins that they have, 5 and only 1 loss.
Yeah, I think you put your finger on it. I think this is going to come down to whether or not the Dodger bats can get, warm. I don't even know if they need to be hot. If they're hot, it's a wrap, right? If the Dodgers come out and have that offense like we've seen them have in the past, right, where Ohtani is the MVP Ohtani, where Freddie Freeman is the Hall of Famer, and, Mookie has been one of the few bats in the lineup that has been hot. So if he can stay hot, if you can get some depth in that lineup as you go down a little bit further. If Max Muncy gets involved, they're gonna be in a terrific spot, because that starting pitching at worst is going to keep you in it, and at best is going to dominate the opposition. So I think that this comes down to the offense, as far as whether or not the Dodgers have to grind or whether or not they're in a pretty comfortable position. Because if they can score 5 or 6 runs a game, I really don't see a situation where the Dodgers starters are giving up a similar amount. And kind of going back to Snell, like you mentioned a minute ago, I was watching his press conference yesterday, and I thought he said something really fun. Number one, I love the confidence that he brings to everything that he does. He is just an unbelievable competitor. I hold that in incredibly high regard. But he was pretty funny talking about, no, I'm not falling for that. I'm not falling for that. Oh, we're just a bunch of regular guys. And he goes, they had the best record in the National League. Everybody knows it. They're really good. I'm going to be ready for this. So I like where he's at a lot. And I really expect Shohei Ohtani to wake up in the batter's box. I expect Freddie Freeman to be good in the batter's box, because it's Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, and they don't stay cold for very long. So I'm very optimistic going into this series. And they had, I think, as far as I know, it didn't go 5 games the way that the Brewers series did, but I think that fight with the Phillies is a far different fight than the one that the Brewers had with the Cubs. And I think they are battle tested, and I think they're ready to go.
Yeah, and a lot of people are trying to use the excuse of Ohtani pitching in game 1 of the NLDS as the reason where he wasn't able to perform at the plate. Shohei Ohtani. We're going to take advantage of him either at the plate or on the mound, and just having him on that lineup at the top of the order pretty much helped the Dodgers win game 4 by getting him walked ahead of Mookie Betts to then get the tying run up scored in the 7th inning. So I'll take Shohei. However it is, eventually he'll wake up. It's baseball. It happens. And now here's the thing is, sorry, go for it, Travis.
No, I was just going to say, and plus the Phillies left-handed pitching is out of this world fantastic. And Shohei was in a bad spot, right? He was chasing bad pitches. He was taking strikes. I liked what Dave said about, it's one of the few times that, Dave Roberts really kind of challenged Ohtani. Like, he basically said, we need to be better at that. We need to have more competitive at-bats. We need to make sure that we're locked in at a level. And he goes, I expect him to do it, but it's one of the few times where he was, even mildly critical of what Shohei Ohtani has done. Again, not a lot of times that you can be critical considering how terrific of a player he is, but I like that he kind of poked him a little bit and tried to get him going. I thought that was really interesting.
One of our listeners on the Locked On Dodgers listener line texted in and said Shohei was having trouble with arm side ankle with some of the great pitching we had to face, but he will figure this out and all will be fine. 8 more games and we get another parade. Please leave us where you're texting from. What's your name? That way we can give you a shout out. But I remember reading that text over the weekend and said that's completely true. And it's going to be different now against the Brewers. And talking about the Brewers, they feast on mistakes. We saw that in the regular season matchups against the Dodgers. You can't give them free bases. I know Travis loves bringing that up because they're fantastic with small ball, having the 2nd best batting average and the 2nd most stolen bases in baseball while not relying much on the long ball. So Snell's swing and miss stuff neutralizes that. Yamamoto's command and poise will keep them guessing. And when you've got Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glasnow waiting behind them, good luck, Milwaukee. Now, the question, more pitchers, more catchers, or more power bats? The Dodgers have decisions to make. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we'll tell you which decisions could define this NLCS for LA.
The NFL season is underway, and FanDuel has an offer that you are absolutely not going to want to miss. And here's why. Because right now, if you are a new customer to FanDuel, you can bet just $5 and you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. You heard me right. You're saying, no, I couldn't have heard that right. No, you heard me right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if that bet hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use it however you want to do it. Parlays, you're like, hey, I really like parlays. Great. FanDuel has parlays. Hey, I like player props, Trav. Great. FanDuel has player props as well. Hey, I like to bet the live line in the middle of the game. Great. They've got live lines during games at FanDuel as well. It makes watching everything, especially football, even more exciting when you've got that little something extra riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or you love going deep into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started now.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. All right. So the roster question everyone's been asking, who's in and who's out for the NLCS? It's the first best of 7 series of the postseason for the boys in blue, and that changes everything, Travis. The Dodgers just carried 11 pitchers through the first 2 rounds, but that number is guaranteed to go up now. So 7 potential games in 9 days. You need to have fresh arms out there in the bullpen. Who are you including that you didn't have in the last round?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? So Tanner Scott is obviously ineligible to rejoin the team because he dropped out in the DS. So I think Robleski stays. I think that's one of the differences from last round to this round, if we're calling that a difference. And then I think it gets a little bit more interesting. I think it depends on what exactly you're looking for, because I would be surprised, and I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I would be surprised if the Dodgers carried 3 catchers here for exactly the same reason that you said, Harry. This is a situation where 7 games, you're going to get deeper into that bullpen. Even as loaded as the Dodgers are in starting pitching, you're going to have to lean on that bullpen in certain situations, even if it's for a couple outs here or there. Maybe one of these games gets lopsided in a way and you don't want to use any of the guys that you might use in a higher leverage situation. So I think the decision for Roberts probably comes down to whether or not Rortvedt or rushing. And I just think that the way it's gone lately, it's probably going to be Rortvedt instead of rushing, just because he's been playing a lot more. I think he's more versatile when it comes with the bat. Rushing's probably got more pop, but I think Rortvedt gives you a little bit more optionality with the things that he can do with the bat. As far as the additions to the pitching staff goes, it's a good question. It's not like they have a bunch of guys that are sitting around waiting to get on the roster that haven't pitched particularly well. So we'll see who comes back. I think you're adding guys like, let's just say it's a guy like Kirby Yates, for instance, right? And you're not bringing Kirby Yates back to get big outs. You're getting Kirby Yates back in the event that there's a 6 or a 7 run situation, either way, quite frankly, where, hey, look, let's keep a guy fresh. Let's go out there and use a guy that we're not going to use in a high leverage situation. So maybe he's there. And then, of course, you've got a decision as far as what you do with your 3 guys that are not going to be starters. You're talking about Dean, you're talking about Call, and you're talking about Kim. Kim has to be on the team because Kim does the most things. Kim can run, Kim can play the infield, Kim can play the outfield in a pinch. So I think he's on for sure. The question is, does Dean make it? Does Call probably does. It feels like Dave Roberts trusts him a little bit more, but Dean's probably on pins and needles waiting to find out.
Absolutely. And we'll start first off the pitching. So we were talking about it first, so let's go with that. Here's what I have just from going from the 40-man roster and being like, okay, these are guys that I would trust, and I'm going alphabetically, and I ended up with 13. Anthony Banda, I would bring back Ben Kasparius because he's a guy that he can take care of business in a short outing, or if you need to stretch him out for 3 innings, which was something that happened over the postseason for the Dodgers already with Clayton Kershaw, that happened with Roki Sasaki. So if there's a moment where you need somebody to go multiple innings, Kasparius can cover that. We can say the same thing about Jack Dreyer. Tyler Glass now, he's starting. I think Edgardo Henriquez is going to get a second lick just because Tanner Scott isn't available. I honestly would rather have Henriquez over Yates because I would trust Henriquez. I know it's right now the bottom of the totem pole, and it's like, okay, who's the 13th pitcher, Henriquez or Yates? And honestly, I've already seen Kirby Yates enough wearing Dodger blue. Hopefully he gets a ring by the end of the year, and we don't see him ever again wearing Dodger blue, with all due respect. No, don't want to be disrespectful, but that's the way I look at it. Tanner Scott, he's under a 4-year deal, so we know we're going to see him again. Yeah. Exactly. So once again, Banda, Kasparius, Dreyer, Glasnow, Henriquez. Those are 5. Kershaw, I think he's going to be included just because he's Clayton Kershaw, and he has to be, even though he didn't look good in his last outing. Sasaki, Sheehan, Snell, Trinan, Vesia, Robleski, Yamamoto. In my opinion, those are the 13 pitchers that the Dodgers, they can carry 13 pitchers in the roster, and I think they will, even though Shohei Ohtani doesn't count against this limit of 13 pitchers.
Yeah, I wonder. I saw, as you kind of go through those names, Harry, I think the question comes down to, do you want Yates / I'm blanking, Henriquez? Do you want Yates or Henriquez, or would you rather carry a third catcher? I think that's probably what the calculus comes down to. And given those 2 options, I'd add the third catcher. I would rather have a guy like Dalton Rushing, who could at least potentially, and I know he didn't hit a bunch of home runs this year, but he's got home run power in his bat, that bring a guy up who's seen a lot of big league pitching this year, who could come in and potentially give you some versatility to come in with a pinch hitter and still not have to go, to a weird defensive lineup, because you do have that third catcher there. I just don't see a place where unless the Dodgers are up 10-0 or down 10-0, where you're going to put Yates or Henriquez in this game. It doesn't feel like there's a real natural spot for him, and it does feel like there's more likely to be a spot for that third catcher. But again, if it comes down to that, then it comes down to that. But I think I'd rather have the defensive optionality than a guy. Henriquez walks people, and you know how I feel about that. He absolutely showed his cards in that series, and that was the wild card round. So if that's how he's gonna feel the pressure of a wild card round, I don't know
against the Reds.
Against the Reds, exactly right. I don't know what that's going to look like in the CS against a team as good as Milwaukee. So I don't need to see either one of those guys, but given my choice, I think at least Yates has been around the block a million times and might respond a little differently.
I'll say this. If the Dodgers do carry 3 catchers, I think that speaks volumes regarding Smith's readiness. He already played twice a full game starting behind the plate, and that was good. But if then you still carry 3 catchers, you know that they're not the fastest guys in the world. You know that you're not going to have versatility that you love to have in players like Kike Hernandez, like Tommy Edman, like Ha-Seong Kim. So if you carry 3 catchers, I feel that just shows you that Will Smith isn't at 100%, and he won't be. He has a fracture in his hand, so he won't be until the end of the season. He gets surgery or just lets it rest, lets it gets back. Position player-wise, you can only run with one of these 2, in my opinion, right now, regarding outfield replacement, pinch runner options. They're both of that case. Ha-Seong Kim and Justin Dean. I don't feel the Dodgers should or can run with both of them in the NLCS, Travis.
Yeah, I hear you. To me, that's a no-brainer. To me, it's Kim 100 out of 100 times because Kim does more things, right? Dean can run and Dean can play the outfield. Well, Kim can run, Kim can play the outfield, Kim can play the infield, and I get it. He wasn't knocking down walls, but Kim has taken a lot of at-bats in the major leagues. Dean hasn't. Like Dean is a non-factor offensively. They just don't let him hit. Kim, it's not the first choice that you'd have off the bat, but at least with Ha-Seong Kim, there's a chance that he could come in there and do something offensively. So if the choice is between those 2 guys, give me Kim all day long. Kim is just far more useful in that situation. He does more things.
They have more confidence in him swinging the bat than Justin Dean, that's for sure. And look, this roster is balanced. It's not just the most talented in the league, it's the most adaptable in the league. And that's crucial because the Dodgers, they're facing a team that made them look human earlier this year. 2 sweeps, 0 answers. But that was 3 months ago, and everything about this rematch screams redemption. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, Revenge Tour activated. The Brewers had the Dodgers number all year, but this isn't the same team. I'll tell you why Milwaukee should be worried. All right, so right after we finished recording Locked On Dodgers, as we were posting the video, the Dodgers made it official with their 26-man roster for the NLCS, and here it is on your screen. The Dodgers just made one change in comparison of the roster that finished the NLDS. Let's remember, Tanner Scott was taken off, and they included Justin Robleski, so Robo is still on this roster, but Ben Kasparius was added, and Dalton Rushing was dropped. So the Dodgers, they're rolling with only 2 catchers, as it is a tradition, as it is usual in the postseason, instead of 3. That speaks volume, in my opinion, on where Will Smith's health is right now. Justin Dean is still on the roster. That's a surprise for me, but let's just do a quick recap. Pitchers: Banda, Kasparius, Dreyer, Glasnow, Kershaw, Sasaki, Sheehan, Snell, Trinan, Vesia, Yamamoto, and Robleski. 12 pitchers, plus Shohei Ohtani, who is both a DH and a pitcher. Catchers: Van Rortvedt and Will Smith. The infielders: Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, and Miguel Rojas. The outfielders: Alex Call, Justin Dean, Teoscar Hernandez, and Andy Pages. And the infielders / outfielders: Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez, and Ha-Seong Kim. Let us know what you think of the 26-man roster. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you like it? Do you don't? In the comments on our YouTube channel. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization for your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. After I joined Monarch Money, I was shocked to see how many different subscriptions I had, and also all that takeout, it definitely stacked up. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Let's talk revenge. The Milwaukee Brewers swept the Dodgers twice during the regular season, including that first meeting where Yoshinobu Yamamoto had the worst outing of his MLB career. Remember that? 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks. It was just brutal. But Travis, that was July. This is October, and this Dodgers team, it's nothing like the one that the Brewers saw back then.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about Yamamoto, Harry, is look, it's the major leagues. Occasionally you're going to have a day where you throw a clunker out there. That's just life in that league. Almost without exception, when he throws a clunker, he comes back and is fierce in the following out. And not just one outing after that, but he stacks them up one after the next. So, he was not at his sharpest against the Phillies. I expect him to come back. And like you said, I expect him to try to make it good against the Brewers from what happened up in Milwaukee. Now, I'm going by memory here a little bit, but I want to say there was an error in that first inning that he was one pitch away from getting out of that. And, anybody that's played knows that sometimes it's literally a play, a pitch, one bad throw, one bad decision, and then the thing just spirals out of there and you can't get it back. I think if that error isn't made, he goes into the dugout, he gets squared away, and he has a more typical Yamamoto-like performance. So I'm not worried about him literally at all. I think that he's going to go in there and be terrific along the way. So again, I think the key to beating this Brewers team is to play clean baseball. I don't think this is necessarily you got to outslug them, you got to outpitch them. Just don't give them opportunities. Give them 27 outs. Don't give them 28 or 29. Don't throw to the wrong base. Don't make outs on the bases when you're on up to bat. I think if they just play this cleanly and play it straight up, the field is tilted way towards the Dodgers side. But what the Brewers are really good at is taking advantage of an error, taking advantage of when somebody throws to the wrong base, taking advantage of those little things that during the course of a regular season, it kind of makes us, oh man, what's he doing? But in the playoffs, that just cost us the game. And that's the difference between winning 3 or 4 of these things. So if they play clean, I really like where they are. I just don't think Milwaukee has the horsepower just straight up to beat them. They can beat them, but not without the Dodgers' help.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you said, the Dodgers were down 3-0, 2 outs. Caleb Durbin reached on a throwing error by Mookie Betts that scored the 4th run for the Milwaukee Brewers. Then the Brewers tacked on another one, 5-0. They took out Yoshinobu Yamamoto at that instant. So, yes, like I said, the Brewers, they're going to capitalize on your mistakes. You got to clean baseball. So that's pitching-wise. Offensively, with the bats, this lineup is loaded with guys Milwaukee didn't have to deal with in those earlier matchups. Max Muncy missed both series. It was right in July, right after his injury. Teoscar Hernandez, who barely got 1 plate appearance in the 3 games in Milwaukee. Kike Hernandez, Mr. October in Blue himself, the heartbeat guy who always delivers in the postseason. He didn't play in either of these series. I know that you guys might listen at that, or you at home might listening at that saying excuses. No, I'm just stating facts of what the Dodgers didn't have in that lineup in July that they do now have in October. And those names alone make this a completely different challenge for the Brewers pitching staff. They won't have to play against Michael Conforto. They'll have to play against Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, the Dodger lineup without Teoscar, Kike, and Muncy is wildly different than the lineup with those guys. Teoscar Hernandez is a guy that every time he steps into the batter's box has home run potential, has extra base potential. Max Muncy is the ultimate, feast or famine guy. So Max Muncy, if Max Muncy gets hot, he's as dangerous as anybody in that Dodger lineup. I think it also goes without saying what Kike can bring, because Kike might not be, a 30 home run bat, but he's a home run waiting to happen in the postseason every single time he gets up there. He's a spark. He's just kind of the heartbeat of that team in the postseason. Even when he's not necessarily playing all that well, just having his presence in the lineup, his energy, his swag, whatever you want to call it. Like Kike is way up here when it comes in there. I think everybody kind of follows that lead. I'll go back to a year ago when when asked, like, why does this team does this? And we all know what he said, because we don't give a blank, right? I think that has carried over to this year. I think that's the energy he brings to every game he plays in. And I think the rest of the Dodgers kind of feast on that, because, Freddie Freeman's not going to say something like that. Mookie Betts isn't going to say something like that. Will Smith isn't going to say something like that. But when Kike does it, I think it allows everybody else to go, yeah, man, that's exactly right. Now, they're not going to put it out there, but he will. So having those guys back in the lineup are invaluable. And, I kind of went by Teoscar pretty quickly, but don't sleep on that. Teoscar's gotten a lot of big hits, had a lot of at-bats. I know that he's had some frustrating moments too, defensively, some bad strikeouts to be sure, but he's another one of those guys that kind of has a feel for the moment. And it changes a lot when you got to get through a lineup that's got Muncy and both Hernandez's in it.
The good outweighs the bad with Teoscar Hernandez, but there might be a moment in the NLCS where one bad play could determine the outcome of this series. Sure. And Travis, I'll finish with this. I had a good friend of ours, JT the Brick, saying on Saturday while I was calling the SC game, he's like, every Dodgers fan in the world is rooting for the Chicago Cubs. And Paul Gutierrez, who is formerly from ESPN, now works with the Raiders, he was saying, it's like, Harry, is this true? I was like, hell no, man. I don't care who we play. I feel confident in the Dodgers against either team. JT replied with, well, they won 4 more games than you guys and would have home field advantage. I was like, bring him on, man. I don't care. I feel confident with this version of the Dodgers against any team that you line up against them.
Here's the difference between the Dodgers and the Brewers, and why the Brewers are the home team in this series, and the Dodgers have got to go on the road one extra time as opposed to having it back in LA. The Brewers grinded out the regular season like it was the most important thing in the world, and the Dodgers like, we'll see you in October.
And does that sound familiar with the Dodgers winning 100+ games in 2022 and 2023 and being bounced into DS?
Right. They are not. I mean, there's no scenario that I can come up with where the Dodgers walk into Milwaukee with really big eyes saying, oh my gosh, I never thought it would be like that. They're going to be fine. This is what they've been setting up for. If it means they got to go on the road and throw those pitchers in Milwaukee instead of LA, they're good. The Dodgers don't sweat this. Now, I'm not saying they can't lose. What I'm saying is it won't be because of environment. It won't be because it's in Milwaukee or not Chicago. That if they play well, they're in a great shape, and I think they will.
Exactly. And they clinched the DS at home. They could clinch the CS at home if they win a game or two in Milwaukee. So let's celebrate at Chavez Ravine later this week. And we'll close out with this. The Brewers, they might have had the Dodgers number in July, but even then, 3 of those losses were by 1 run. 2 of them were by 2 run. Only the first matchup was a blowout when they rocked Yoshi. But in October, that's when the Dodgers flipped the script, because this is about redemption. This is about reestablishing dominance. And it's about redeeming baseball, that is the road to the World Series still runs through Los Angeles, because the reigning, defending, undisputed champions aren't done yet. Travis, they're just getting started.
This is why they're here. They don't play they don't get ready for the World Series in July. They do it in October. Let's see what they got.
All right, that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Nights be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll have full reaction after game 1, so make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Confidence level, where is it, Travis, from 1 to 10?
10. I mean, it's baseball, so anything can happen, but they're basically healthy. They've got their pitching lined up. Let's go play.
I'm going to go one more. I'm going to go confidence level 11 for game 1. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.